Hello, everyone, and welcome to the MSAA Fall State Championships for League of Legends. I'm Locus, and I'm one of your casters that'll be bringing you through the action today. And I'm here with Osti. How you doing, man?
Man, I'm doing too good. I'm very excited, of course, to be here live at the Fall 2022 Championships for these amazing esports athletes. I'm talking SHS Gatekeepers versus Newton South. We got amazing people inside the building right now, a bunch of fans supporting friends, family, faculty. Just so exciting to get to bring this level of competition at this level. I mean, you get to see high schoolers really getting that championship level experience that's just going to cultivate that NA talent that much further and just set these cats up for success in anything that they want to do later on. So just big shout out to everybody that's made this thing possible. I know there's 20 people behind the scenes for every single person that we see on the stage. So big shout out to them, and also just big shout out to PlayVS for bringing us this action live and supporting these tournaments.
Yeah, it's not something that everybody gets the opportunity to experience. So it's awesome to see organizations like PlayVS, giving these opportunities to these players. So big shout outs to them.
Yeah, it's going to be an electric day. I know that we had some Rocket League, some Super Smash Bros coming from these tournaments that are concluding this month right now. But right now, it's the League of Legends finals. It's going to be a great showing as well. We've got the lineups here. Gatekeepers, we got Wo Sai, I Guide the Chad, For Her I Will D, Ko Hong, and Jinrat. And then against the Newton South team, looking like Mr. Narwhal 62, Foodman, Devotal, Euphority, and Dead Fist Sushi. So really exciting to see these guys. Also shout out to their coaches, Nick Crafting, Klaus Heineck, and then the subs that we have, Dominic and Alexander, D. Geo, and X-Asian OG. Gonna be just a big shout outs to everybody that we have involved.
Yeah. All right, and we are getting into draft here. Both of these teams showing off their first. Seeing the Hecarim and the Fiora from Shrewsbury here, and just the Dr. Mundo on the side of Newton. What can you tell me about these champs that we're seeing so far?
Well, I'm liking to see possibly some target bans, because I'm not really sure of when Dr. Mundo gets banned often inside of Complay, but perhaps I Guide the Chad going to be that guy that's just really smooth with that unkillable tank that Mundo can become in the mid to late game. Nice targeted little ban on the Blitzcrank as well. Nobody likes to get those Blitzcrank Qs. Nobody likes to be the reason that the team lost the team fight before it even happened.
Yeah, definitely a scary one to deal with. The Viego getting banned out as well. Another champion that, in those team fights, if he manages to get one of those resets, suddenly hopping around using a whole bunch of different abilities, definitely good to get that one out of the way.
Yeah, really clean bans from the side of the blue team thus far, and gonna round it out with a Lux ban all across the board from Newton South. I'm not really sure if I've seen these champions banned often, but it seems like they've really done their research and seen what players on the other side of things from SHS like to play, and they are really taking those off the board, because bans from the blue team very generic. Everybody bans Hecarim, Fiora in the top lane, and that Viego, a real big jungle focus. But across the board on that red team, there's really just, I would say, off the cuff bans that really seem targeted. And I'm not sure of the player history on the blue team, but I think that they would really have liked to pick some of those champions there.
Yeah. Getting some info from behind the scenes here. Apparently Shrewsbury are the 5-time state champions and are also the returning champions from fall last year.
That's how they do it.
Yeah, and Newton, definitely no strangers to this kind of competitive play as well. It's Newton South's second appearance in the championships since things got started here. So big shout outs to both of these teams, and we'll have to see whether Newton can kind of dethrone these champions from last year.
Yeah, it's going to be a very exciting, explosive battle. No doubt the Gatekeepers looking to gatekeep South here from a 5th or 6th championship, if I'm not mistaken, then. And that would be
South from their 3rd. Yeah.
Oh, right.
They're trying to gatekeep. Nobody else gets a championship, according to
nobody. The SHS Gatekeepers really just trying to make sure that they stay at the top of their game and continue this dominant streak across Massachusetts. And their bans are getting, the picks are getting locked in super fast. Silas in the mid lane, Orn in the top, and Kaisa in the bot. Those are all amazing champions that you can rely on very easily in the mid to late game. But the picks here from Newton going to be great job to try to accelerate their early game and mid game and try to get them to not even be able to hit those Ornn items, not be able to really do the things that Kai'Sa wants to do when she jumps into the back line. Just all around great draft. It's a huge game of chess going on right here in this pick ban.
Yeah. We see that Sylas first pick. That's always interesting because you don't know what alts are going to be on the other team for you to actually take. Nothing extremely high value that I'm seeing for alts to take from the Sylas on the side of Newton so far.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like personally the Sylas is just so reliable, and he's just, no matter what, going to be able to sustain through the lane and try to, pressure out whoever he gets picked in against. There's not many mid laners that are able to deal with the pressure that a Sylas can continue to bring in the mid lane. I'm not sure which jungler will be able to hover around him, but when he's able to lock somebody down as well with some great synergy with the jungler, it becomes really difficult to deal with. He's very mobile. His sustain feels like he's in it forever. And a Renata Glass is going to be the pairing with the Tristana in the bot lane here for Newton. I think that's a great pairing. They're going to be able to be aggressive, and I definitely think that that's what they're going to need to do in order to throw off the game plan that Gatekeepers are setting up.
Okay, we're seeing an Ahri hover here. We'll have to see whether this comes through in the next 5 seconds, but that could be pointing actually to a Sylas jungle. Definitely a scary champion. We were kind of mentioning him in the mid lane being a safe pick, but he has been cropping up in the jungle recently with some scary ganks and actually some pretty decent clear time with the attack speed on his passive.
Yeah, and then also just those new jungle creatures following you around, adding so much DPS to camps and doing so much of that work. That is going to be very interesting. That'll be the first Sylas I've gotten to see across the finals that I've had the pleasure of commentating here. So I love to see Massachusetts MSAA on the forefront of the meta, and then Syndra will be the answer to the Ahri, which will probably line up in that mid lane like my good friend Locus had mentioned. And that is a scary, scary team drafted by the Gatekeepers. But I look across at Newton South, and I'm also very impressed by this draft that they've been able to pull out, because there were some great bans across the board. There's a lot of S tier picks, in my opinion, that were taken away. No Shyvana to come out in the jungle, which is kind of interesting when she's open like this. But yeah, shout out to Isaac on the Syndra. You see getting some love in the chat for that pick there, and that's definitely going to be a pick that you can show up and show out on.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see these teams go head to head. When we're thinking about kind of like the overall scope of what this game should look like, is it just kind of like making sure that Ornn can't get to late game and power up his teammates with those items, or what do you feel like the story of this game is going to be?
Yeah, 100% it's going to be on Newton South to put a wedge in the machine that is the Gatekeepers team. If they're able to just casually get through early game, get a couple of their items, start to stack up into the mid-late game, and that Ornn who's able to just get levels on top of this Camille, that's going to be, unfortunately, a GG for Newton South. They have to get in there early. They have to get this Camille to be able to abuse the Ornn. They have to let the Kayn get engaged to be able to do whatever he wants on the backline. And that Tristana has to be strong enough to pot down the Ornn. He has to be able to take those big shots with the Kraken Slayer and actually make them count. Without that Ornn Horn and the massive layers of engage that the Gatekeepers have, it start to become too much.
Yeah, if I was this Tristana, I'd be pretty grateful that I've got a Renata by my side. There are a lot of dive threats on the side of the Gatekeepers here. I'd be a little bit scared to play ADC against that, but you've got a couple of those repositions and the ultimate from Tristana, so she should be able to keep herself quite safe here.
Yeah, and then, like you said, she got that get out of jail free card, and if she's able to get a kill with that, we'll just get a little bit of extra life on top of that. It's like you got to kill Tristana twice, maybe even thrice if those cooldowns come back around. So going to be great stuff that the Newton South had drafted as an answer to this very easy puzzle that the Gatekeepers have concocted. At the end of the day, they have the easier composition to pull off. It's going to be on Newton South to outplay in the early game, or look for Gatekeepers to be overextending, to be looking for something a little bit too risky, too fast for what they've drafted.
Yeah, and I like that call out that that the Gatekeepers team is just a little bit easier to execute because the pressure's not on you to make something happen. The later this game goes, the easier it goes for them. And in these high pressure situations, that's something that is nice to kind of play towards. Having that kind of ease of access for your team comp.
Yeah, 100%. Look how much CC that Kaisa has to be able to maneuver around the fight with the Killer Instinct as well. She's going to be able to reposition on anybody she wants in that mid to late. Orin, if he misses the Orin Horn, okay, well, Silas is coming in with 2 knockups. If not that, Amumu has a stun and 2 stuns and the massive AoE stun with his ultimate. So it's just going to be so much that the Kaisa is able to jump off of. Even the Ari Charm coming out to do a little bit of work there. And it's going to be so difficult if Newton South do not make it that they're able to hit Gatekeepers in the face with their wallets, essentially.
Yeah. We haven't talked a ton about that Amumu. His passive amplifying that magic damage. There's so much magic damage on the side of the Gatekeepers there. I feel like that Amumu is such a value pick, even without that passive working so well with that team. But you add that on top, and I think that that's a great pick for them.
Yeah, like you look at that draft that's crafted by the Gatekeepers, and it is LCS certified. It is delicious, nutritious. It's a well-rounded breakfast, and that's exactly what you want to see in the afternoon of whatever could come from this amazing series. It's going to be, no doubt, some high-octane, high-action games. We're waiting to get into it. There's a 3-minute spectator bug, or a little delay, so that, you know, we can't cheat. We won't make those guys feel too nervous for anything that's happening. You'll have to hear us getting hype about it 3 minutes after the fact, but it is going to be, no doubt, getting into that game very shortly.
Yeah, it'll also be really interesting to see how Kane kind of moves towards that transformation. He's not the strongest early game champion, but he definitely does want to scrap to get, you know, those points towards his transformation. I'm curious whether he'll go that red or that blue.
Highly see an opportunity for him to just sit on the top lane. I'm gonna think that anytime this stylist shows on the bottom side of things, that the jungler here from Newton is gonna want to do stuff to this Orin, just make it that much more difficult for him to stay in lane. Orin's passive allows him to just continue to craft items and stay in lane indefinitely if he's not called out. So I got the Chad is definitely going to be the focus for the early Kane stacking. You could go towards that bot lane as well, but a bad gank on that Kaisa Amumu where Silas is waiting in the brush for a counter gank could spell imminent disaster for Newton South. And as I'm talking about disaster, we'll pan over the beautiful Summoner's Rift one more time and jump into things for game 1.
All right. We see Gatekeepers here moving through their bot side jungle. Doesn't look like either of these teams are going to be going for any 5-man stack invades. Looks like everybody's just kind of getting vision and starting off clean.
30 seconds
I like that a lot.
spawn.
Nice little fan out here. Simple,
Maybe.
easy peasy. Gonna see the dash in from the Silas here. Will it amount to anything? Really aggressive. They're keeping things going. It's a death ball level 1.
Oh, you force that Tristana to take jump level 1 and burn the flash. That is a scary thing for Newton when you're looking at that Tristana as being one of your win conditions here.
Yeah, Wosai frothing at the mouth, looking for a gank opportunity down there now. Flashless Tristana does have to jump, and there's no ignite on the Nunu, so a little bit of that kill threat has gone down. But if at any point this Tristana jumps in the lane, is forced to jump because of some great trades to come out from Hong and Mumu here, is going to be so difficult for Foodman to get anything. And we know how limited that attack range is by Tristana level 1. It, you know, scales up as she does accumulate levels, but it feels really rough in the opening levels to not have any real steroids to the attack range.
Yeah, especially with the Amumu having the 2 bandage tosses now. I would be terrified as this Tristana for the first couple of levels here. You do not want to let him land either of those.
It's going to be so important for Foodman to show up here, and there is one of the bandit tosses to come in after Shock. Second one is engaged. Mr. Narwhal gets flashed on, and that is first blood early for this Kaisa.
I like the kind of bait and switch there too. There's so much attention put on that Tristana in the early game, but Amumu not focusing too hard on that and just says, you know, Renata's out of position, let's capitalize.
Going crazy on the track. early off in this game, has a CS wave and a kill to go with it, they're gonna back off and get to just grab some items to continue to add so much pressure onto this Tristana. It's going to be very difficult. They're gonna need this Kayn to come down and maybe start to farm down here, but then that would become so predictable for Wosai on the Sylas, who has just done a great job power farming, clearing out this jungle. Both junglers leaving their blue buffs for last, so that they can have that increased mana generation from whatever ganks they're about to pull off.
Yeah, we'll have to see whether this Kayn is able to make anything happen down in this bot lane. Gatekeepers have been pretty offensive down here, so they might end up pushing that lane and leaving themselves open for a gank, but the wave does not look too great for them.
That is the worst wave, where you're always so sad when you see come back to a wave with a death, and there's just an infinite wave that could be stacked and frozen in front of the Gatekeeper's tower if this explosive shots are not able to start to whittle down, and Foodman dropping 2 CS there as well. Unfortunate. That explosive shot just so difficult sometimes to manage in the early levels. As your attack damage does go up, it feels like you could just clear waves for free, not even thinking about it, but you really have to be smart about which CS you hit and when with that early E.
Yeah. I also do want to call out this cull buy from the Kai'Sa. It's kind of a greedy first buy, but you get that first blood and you kind of throw down the gauntlet and say, hey, you have to stop me from farming. Oh my goodness. Almost getting the Syndra there in mid lane.
Yeah, and she even played it so well, held the flash to the perfect time, but Wosai getting called out here for all this aggressive movement. Voodoo getting the work done. The Syndra just barely missing the E there, but don't worry about it. Ain't able to pick the thing up with the flash, trying to get more, but not going to be able to get the W. That definitely might have been the go sign for this Kayn to continue that pressure, but look how many stacks went inside of this transformation as the Voodoo walks out of there.
Yeah, and that was mostly off the Sylas, so getting towards that red transformation, I'm guessing that's what we'll see with the Conqueror on the side of the Kayn. So definitely a strong start for him. He's going to see how he can transform that into leads on the rest of the map.
Yeah, Newton South lacks a true tank, so at the end of the day, Voodoo is the one that has to carry that off-tank role along with Deadfist Sushi. They'll both be able to get a lot of damage out onto carries, though, whereas the Ornn, he's not light on damage in any means, but once his CC is used up in the late game, he definitely won't be lending as much DPS to the experience as the Voodoo and Deadfist Sushi. So I got the Chad. Gonna need to continue to get those levels, continue to try to get those thorn items, but that is a quick gank again from Wosai, always nearby.
Yeah, Nadamumu burning the flash to make that bandage toss almost guaranteed on the Renata. Definitely came from that bot lane of Gatekeepers.
Great foresight for you to watch out with that. For her, I will possibly die, but not this time. Nadamumu was deathless here in game 1. Gatekeepers getting this wave pushed out, 40 CS, and a kill onto this Kai'Sa, but Cole already down to 60 as well. What a great buy.
Yeah, definitely paying off here for the Kai'Sa, and they are going to move this advantage towards the Dragon here. The early Dragon, but definitely good to get those stacking early, especially if you're the team that wants to go into the late game. Each Dragon that you get here is denying that soul from moving an extra 5 minutes.
I love this Mountain Drake as well, the value with the type of composition that they have drafted. They want to be able to stay alive through the damage that Newton South puts out because they have more DPS in the long run. Voodoo, though, as I can try to speculate on that, getting a bit more stacks to pop off. Jinrat has the advance on the rotation. There is going to be the passive by the Renata to come out, that W still, but it's that 2 deep from the Gatekeepers. They really are giving away a lot here. Feel this death come out on the Ahri. It will, and that's a double kill for Foodman, who we needed to pop off in this game.
Yeah, that is a huge breath of fresh air for Newton South. Getting 2 kills on the player that you need those 2 kills on, definitely big for them.
Dragon maybe a little bit too much there. Like you said, an early Dragon does a lot of damage. That Dragon, all the Dragons were buffed here in the preseason patch, and it just did enough damage to open up the competition there. Gatekeepers taking off a little bit more than they could chew. Newton South with a great call out and 2 great kills now onto this Tristana, accelerating that build because she was beginning to fall behind on the tempo here against this Kaisa.
Yeah, and also all these little scraps are definitely doing well for this game. Gonna catch this Silas out here. Yeah, with the Camille ult, it's all but done.
That is some great mobility, some great communication to come out from Newton South. Saw Silas walk across wards, knew that people just want to reset the lanes here from the gatekeepers, and they're saying, let's use this as our tempo card, keeping things going. This Kaisa, though, continuing to be a threat down here in the bot lane. It's ramping up ever so slightly. If things continue to go unchecked for this Kaisa, she could definitely take over fights, jumping onto the backline, the very squishy backline that we have here from Newton South, and becoming a demon.
Yeah, and Camille has that kill up in the top lane. Arm with this Ornn. Falling behind a little bit here.
Oh no, a little bit of a DC with the pause there. Gonna have to see what's going on there, perhaps. Just a little bit of a disconnection from the LAN cable. Maybe somebody kicked it, legs going crazy. Like I said, we live in the arena, so anything could happen, but no doubt, amazing tournament staff on it very quickly, and we'll get right back into this thing.
Yeah, it looks like there's an issue with the computer that they're going to work to resolve real quick, which is important, you know. In this kind of situation where you're playing for a championship like this, got to make sure that everything's working good, so pause time definitely appreciated for those players. So what do you think that that Newton has to do in this next little bit here to try and turn this game around?
Well, Newton have already kind of activated a little bit of that path to victory that we spoke about, and that a little bit of analysis that we got before the game started. They need to get that Tristana heavy. They need her shots to really put in dents to the front line of the gatekeepers. And there is a Mountain Drake that was picked up by gatekeepers there very early that might start to weigh very heavily against Newton South in that mid to late game. But if Newton South are able to start to really press this tempo like we've seen them start to do now, they will be able to stop this Ornn from becoming an issue. They'll be able to nullify this Silas, which they've already kind of gotten on the same page of doing. And when that happens, where's that tank line? Where's all those stats that we expected to come in from the Ornn items? They're non-existent. They're just a theory. And that's going to be Newton South that drafted so much DPS that is tried and true at the end of the day.
Yeah, a lot of things to deal with both sides here. I'm really
straightened out.
Yeah, hopefully we'll be getting back into game here shortly. I'm really interested to see how this Silas might be able to get back in the game. Some pretty impactful ganks in the early game, but none of that really transitioned into leads for the Silas himself, just kind of propping up that bot lane. So I'm curious to see how he gets back in here after that kind of untimely invade for him.
South trying to deny the 6th state title from the gatekeepers here, and it's going to be a path very difficult for them. Like, this is a best of 3. You know, you can do it once, but you got to be able to do it 2 times in a row against these top level competitors here. Massachusetts, just a state that breeds some insane esports talent as well as some top level minds. You know, that is like college row there. You got all the best universities, colleges, you know, and that all trickles down into the school system that we're seeing bring their talents here at the MSAA high school finals that we're getting to bring live. I'm so excited to be bringing this to you here with my man Logus, Osby Champ on the mic if you're just joining us. And it is an explosive game 1 that we're already getting to see unfold. I cannot wait to see what happens here in these next few minutes.
Yeah, and on that point, huge shout out to the Massachusetts School Administrators Association. This doesn't start with just, you know, people wanting to play the game. You know, there are definitely people in that association who saw that these players had the passion for the game, and big shout outs to them for listening and for bringing this to the players and giving them this opportunity. Big support from them.
Big love all around, and also just have big love for this Summoner's Rift that we were panning through so wonderfully here. Hasn't been a change to the map in quite some time. So I'd be very interested to see. I mean, of course, the Drakes now changed the map a little bit as We see what soul the teams will be able to capture. All of that does modify the map a little bit, but no big overhauls like we saw, if I'm not mistaken, like eight seasons ago. So I would really like to see something change here on Summoner's Rift sometime soon. Perhaps something, some event happening in the realm that, you know, perhaps changes things around. Won't be this season, of course, because they definitely would have introduced that here in the preseason patch. But I'm just seeing all the love in the chat for Newton, all the love in the chat for the SHS team. It's going to be only amplified in that stadium, as I know people are biting their nails and twiddling their thumbs, waiting for these players to get back onto the Rift. But here it goes.
All right, coming right out of the pause, some trades going on in the bot lane. Nothing too serious here. And that blue buff on that Tristana is definitely nice to be able to throw out some abilities and trade and keep that mana sustained here.
Yeah, we've seen that gatekeepers know how to push a wave out, and it's going to be easier to respond with that mana improved there on Foodman. And it is going to be important for this Camille to try to keep pace against this board here. Maybe make less trades and try to clean up that wave before engaging. Wait for Kane to come up there. With all of those stacks finally accumulating, I'm pretty sure that he will be able to transform sometime soon after the 10-11 minute mark.
Yeah, he has been scrapping quite a bit here, so that transformation can't be far off. Dragon coming up in another minute 45 seconds. It's a Cloud Drake here, so that means we're going to be seeing potentially an Infernal or an Ocean Soul. There are some powerful souls left in that pool.
Nice denying the back there. Yeah, and those are some great souls indeed. Ocean Soul can be so oppressive. And speaking of oppressive, 40 here, just being so mean, bullying Jinrat here, who wants to get this back off. I'm not sure if Jinrat even has an item to buy though. I'd be curious to see how much gold is on. Yeah, it definitely could buy something. 80 CS here. Only has a Lost Capture and the Ruby Crystal, so probably has a nice snippet that they can pop onto right now. We'll see as Jinrat does go back to base, but just all around things have very much stabilized from the pace that we saw about 2-3 minutes ago.
Yeah, and it looks like that bot lane is stabilized there from Newton as well. That looked a lot different than it did in the early game with the gatekeepers just kind of running at them. This time, going into the top lane. Oh, and the Silas stealing that Camille ult, making that gank happen. Kane's just going to stroll on out. That is a powerful ult to take.
Yeah, the gatekeepers were using that cannon minion as a bait there. Poor Deadfish Sushi knew that they would come out and expend that W skill in order to try to secure that CS, and that was the go sign for both sides. Ult was stolen, like you said, and the lockdown was too mean. That was a great mind for a counter game by DeVoodle, who has now, at the 11-minute mark, like we thought, gotten to that red Kane. But there's some really, really clean stuff to come out from gatekeepers there in the top lane.
Yeah, that's a red Kane with the Gore Drinker already at 11 minutes. That is not somebody you want to come up against right at this moment. All right, Dragon has spawned here, so we can see both teams starting to move towards that to get some pressure here. It looks like Newton is going to be the team that has the control around the pit.
Yeah, and it's a perfect Drake for them to get. They're going to be able to get that increased movement speed out of combat onto this Kane, and then on top of that, anybody that uses their ult just getting a little bit of a steroid boost in that regard. But yeah, the flash being forced out here by Jinrat, really clean on the movement there with the Ari, but 40 able to absorb that pressure while the rest of the team collapses on the Drake, and it is Ocean Soul engaged. Let's get ready for some extra fruit, some extra brushes.
Yeah, and if you are either of these teams, you've got the Ornn on the side of gatekeepers, but having that regen makes all of your team just that much more beefy, which might be what Newton needs without a true tank on their side.
Yeah, Newton don't need it, I would say, as much as they want to deny it from the gatekeepers, because if the Ornn, the Silas, and the Amumu are all just able to take a little bit and head out, still be able to regenerate all on top of that, Jinrat able to just get mana for free time and time again with his hitting skills, it's going to be so devastating for them. Deathwish Sushi getting into a bit of an engage here, but nothing committal. It's basically like two tanks up there whenever a Ornn is engaged because nobody wants to fight that guy.
Yeah, it's actually crazy seeing him take trades against this Camille and actually come out on top as far as damage goes. Usually Camille, you see just kind of like stomping those trades in the top lane, so definitely cool to see.
Once again, we saw Wilsai hovering up there. Voodoo wise to it, but there's already been a recall and a reposition from the jungler on the other side, so definitely see this Silas with forefront on the tempo, making the Voodoo play a lot more responsive, but at least the responses are there. You always see this Kane showing up to the fights when they need to. This is going to be Deathwish Old with the opportunity here. Old used it for time to lock him down. Will it get the kill to transpire? So far, I got a Chad doing so great at absorbing the pressure, and in the mid lane, Jinrat, Ignite is on and Kill is engaged.
Ooh, doesn't even need the last stack of the Spirit Rush there from Jinrat. Clean kill in the mid lane while that scuffle was happening in the top. Ornn just too beefy to go down during the time of that Camille ult. Shoutouts to iGuy the Chad for just absorbing all that pressure in the top lane too on the Ornn and coming out so far ahead in the farm and in that lane pressure too. Definitely scaling towards that late game well.
Kept things up for so long, you know, kept that tempo up, was the one leading in CS, was denying Deathwish Sushi, and then perfectly switches it to the defensive stance. I'm not sure if the guy's from Boston, but his Boston shell is bona fide. He's out here just absorbing pressure left and right, and that's allowing so much space for the gatekeepers to just continue to do what they want here, and that is scale. That is stats that will get them to be able to continue to just run over fights when all of the AoE CC starts to come out.
Alright, some trades happening here in the bot lane. Tristana getting mighty low. We'll step back here. Also, shoutouts to Ornn for not flashing during that whole engagement. Just knowing that he actually didn't need to use that flash is going to be able to keep that up and be safe in this lane.
Oh, there's going to be Deathwish Sushi having to use the E in defense, but in that same vein, Wosai is always nearby, and the bot lane now has become unleashed. They are just taking down this tower. There are no more turret plates. That is going to be first turret down as Baby Aaron is secured by Newton South. There is trade for trade, tit for tat going on between these two teams. Anybody can still win this game, even though the Gatekeepers have amassed this delicious 2,000 gold lead.
Yeah, Gatekeepers doing their best to extend this game. Being up gold for them at this point is huge. So we'll have to see how Newton can make this Tristana work now that that lane is kind of been broken for them. We'll need to see this Tristana transition around the map and start taking turrets or forcing fights.
And there's no fights to take when you take big chunks like that. Jinrat's sidestepping the pressure perfectly, and that is a Syndra that has been keyed in and locked down. Jinrat continuing on the pressure, but going to use that Spirit Rush to get out and dodge and continue to put pressure around this dragon, which will be spawning at 45 seconds. This Ocean Drake Soul definitely a huge win condition for the Gatekeepers.
Yeah, I love that new Ahri change where she gets the stacks of Spirit Rush reset when she gets a kill and her assist. And Jinrat is showing that off perfectly here. Just masterful use of the champion and those abilities, so shoutouts to Jinrat for that.
All around great stuff from both teams, but the lead in the favor of the Gatekeepers. How will this Rift Herald be used though? It's in the hands of Devoodle currently, so we'll have to see where he is going. But as the dragon spawns, no doubt that's where he will be. Kaisa in the sights, but Kaisa with the evasion. Going to be Ko Hong trying to get back to base and back for this fight because Newton South going to be rushing it down, knowing that this Kaisa was looking for the back.
Yeah, no Mumu ult if there's going to be a fight happening right now, so that's something that will make the fight a little bit more scary for the Gatekeepers. Still possible, but you have to be a little bit more precise.
Yeah, possible, and they're going for it because there is the Ornn TP a little bit late from the Camille, but she will be there in time. The Ornn has been sounded, and the team has scattered from Newton South. So much disruption, but the Voodoo is starting to do some crazy DPS here in the backline. Deathwish Sushi taking down for her Iwao, but that's a support. Do you want to put all that DPS in alongside the support, and there is still alive from this Camille, causing so much havoc, but the gatekeepers have just been able to weather the storm for so long. They're able to clean up the fight around the dragon, and that is 5-10 just for that simple Amumu. Like I said, PlayVS Sushi so baited by that low health bar, and the prize will be the first of these potion drinks to be stacking for the gatekeepers, and possibly a huge lead now opening up. They can clear out all of these outer turrets, start to work on these inners, and get that Baron right on spawner 5 minutes after at least.
Yeah, and just like that, the game explodes wide open for the gatekeepers. That is a huge advantage going to their side. Big shoutouts to, Mumu for starting off that fight. There was a great E from U40 at the start of that fight to just deny that engage for a little bit longer and buy the time for the Camille TP to come out, but when it came down to it, that team fight coming out from gatekeepers was just so strong. They kept Tristana out of the fight. She wasn't able to make a big impact, and that was kind of the win condition there for gatekeepers.
PlayVS Sushi stayed alive for so much longer than I could have expected, but the DPS was just not behind it. Only a Divine Sunderer on this Camille was not able to clean up what she wanted to be able to lend the true strength of this character to her team. Now we'll see the Rift Hero drop in the mid lane just as a little bit of consolation. I believe it will take down the turret, but I did not get to see the health on it.
Yeah, there was another Herald used earlier in the mid lane, so yeah, that will get taken out. We're getting to the point where Baron is spawning. Gatekeeper is definitely with a team that could shred that Baron relatively early, so it's another thing that Newton South is going to have to think about dealing with on the map.
I love to see chat rallying behind their teams. In the words of Xavier, minor setback, major comeback for the South squad. They could definitely still make this happen. There is a massive amount of pressure starting to boil in the pot against them, but they're able to open that up. He was cooking, have their own recipe for disaster against the gatekeepers. They'll be able to definitely make noise here in game one, but thus far it has been the gatekeepers with an exceptional showing. A little bit of call-outs that came out from Newton South, but in general, the big picture that's been painted by gatekeepers is just so beautifully played.
Yeah, we are starting to see these Ornn items coming out of Ornn as well, and that is a great sign if you're the gatekeepers here. Just upgrading his own. Jack showed the protein, and we will have to see what who he goes to next for that second Ornn upgrade. I hope it's the Tristana, I hope it's the Kaisa. I'd love to see that that upgraded Kraken Slayer pop off on her.
Such a dirty combination, those Ornn items lending thousands of gold in value that will not show up on the scoreboard. So even though we have 5,000 gold lead in the hands of the gatekeepers, it's more like 6,000, soon to be 7,000 unanswered gold with this extra additional stats that come in from that. And there is just great pressure as well now that they're starting to place around that Baron. They're going to clear out the vision, get some established of their own. And you see how dark it is across the map for Newton South. They have no vision really anywhere besides that pink ward right above the Baron pit. And it is just a huge amount of jump scare factor that can come out. Any brush that they check, anything that they do that is aggressive at any point could just be a whole team waiting for them.
Yeah, and when you're starting to get pushed out of your own jungle and dove under your turrets, okay, we'll force out the flash and the TP. Oh, but the TP getting canceled.
Jinrai, a little bit too aggressive, but actually does get the kill in time. Will not get out because of that flash from Devoodle. Going to be able to at least clean up something in consolation there, but Foodman maybe getting a little bit too close to this Kaisa, absolutely getting too close. The exhaust was engaged, still had that exhaust ready to go. You cannot guess that carry eventually has that. You have the cleanse for your own side.
Yeah, might have thought the Renata was just a little bit closer. Mr. Narwhal was moving in for the assist there, but just a little bit too early there from Foodman.
Yeah, DPS so fast from this 3-0-3, but then now 4-0-3 Kaisa after getting the kill on the Tristana. They are very similar in item builds, but you'll see that narrative change right here as this Tristana does get the back, gets to add the Lord Dominic's Regard, and now, after possibly getting this next foreign item upgraded, will be an unstoppable threat to the backline at any point, and will do crazy damage to this front line that the Newton South team has drafted.
Yeah, that, you know, the lack of a tank there is nobody who's going to be able to sustain through that Kai'Sa's damage here. So these team fights are going to happen fast. And as we're talking about that, Dragon is going to be spawning in 4 seconds or so here. We'll have to see whether Newton actually goes for this one or whether they're just going to leave it. But Gatekeeper is starting this off, and they are shredding this Dragon quickly.
Yeah, there is no neutral objective on this map that is a friend to the Gatekeepers. They are going to just mow through every single one of them, and it is going to be on Deathfish Sushi to start to put in damage on this Horn, but there's still only a Divine Sunderer with 2 longswords in the inventory, and you're seeing how that is just not enough with the tank stats that this Horn has. They're going to feel comfortable even to just go and shred this Baron because of the percent damage that they're able to layer on. They also just have all 5 members here perfectly at 24 minutes, and like I said, they're going to be able to get this Baron within that 25-minute mark, and there it's secured. That might be the big check on the plate for the Gatekeepers here.
Yeah, it's a rough situation if you're Newton, both for that Dragon and that Baron. If you go and fight, you're not likely to win, but if you just let them take this stuff, they're just scaling so hard into that late game. So definitely a rough spot for Newton here.
Rough spot, but if they're able to weather the storm, they'll be rewarded with a massive amount of bounties. There's 1,000 gold in bounties between the Silas and the Kai'Sa currently. There's a lot of gold to be had and experience to be had as well just from winning those engagements. So it will be possible for Newton South, but it's becoming ever so more impossible. They did a great job getting what they needed to start it up early. So I do not doubt that if they get a fresh game and get to rely on their confidence, they can change the narrative. But right now, the types of advantages that have been built up for the Gatekeepers are undeniable.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that Ornn item actually coming through for the Kai'Sa now. There is just so much stats on that Kai'Sa. We're seeing a big group of people down here in the bot lane. It looks like Gatekeepers are going to try and push down this bot lane tier 2. The amount of numbers they've got down there.
Interesting to see that we don't have 2 items yet on the Camille. We're at 25 minutes. Definitely want to see Deadfish Sushi's try to clean up as much CS as possible here in the next game. Try to, keep pace with those items. It's so important. Kohong able to do so much with that last whisper, not the last whisper, with the Phantom Dancer. Just taking reduced damage from that Syndra and able to weather and continue to stay nearby for this re-engagement if possible. Losai there with the engagement, and that is a great ultimate to come out from Mr. Narwhal, but the stats are so big from Losai. The teleport is in. Foodman is on the hunt for the kill, but Losai is doing so much work in the backline. Double kill thus far and keeping things going. Triple kill. Mr. Narwhal, possibly the quadruple kill, but no, Jinrak going to secure that one.
Wow. And yeah, Wosai just playing that fight perfectly on the Silas, and really turning around this game. There was a point in time where he was 0-2, a couple of assists, but was definitely behind on the farm on the Kayn, and making these plays to now be 6-3 and 6. This is a scary Silas on the map.
Syndra's ultimate was expended on the one that got away. That Kai'Sa, Kohong going crazy, using the auto attack to proc the Phantom Dancer and do just enough damage to scare the Syndra from continuing on with that engagement. Kai'Sa getting out the skin of her teeth and now pressuring that mid lane inner turret. Going to be able to take that head out again to safety and just continue to build up gold. Almost 300 CS. 10 CS per minute is definitely locked in, and that is exactly what you want to see from your AD carry.
We've got about a minute left on this Ocean Drake, and this is probably what's going to spell game for the Gatekeepers here. Newton will have to make some sort of effort to take this dragon, because I like you mentioned earlier, I don't think they can deal with the Gatekeepers with an Ocean Soul. There's just too much healing. They are trying to catch Kohong here, though.
Yeah, Gohong really just an aggressive positioning time and time again, getting called out here by Debudo and possibly able to do the damage that needs to be done. Great E, but the shutdown still comes out and it goes perfectly onto Foodman, who needs to be the carry here. There is a re-engage to come out. Wosai, danger zone around this Silas. You do not want to be near this character. Jinrat trying to do what needs to be done, but actually getting singled out here and getting booted, and shut down as well too. The Tristana Foodman is going absolutely ape here in the 28th minute of the game. They're going to be able to pick up for her. I will die as well, even though that was an amazing Amumu ultimate. Who was there to follow up? Nobody. They're dead none.
Yeah, gatekeepers. Oh, they're kind of going in one by one, but they will try and fight this. Wosai and Igai the Chad. This is such a strong Orin, such a strong Silas. They are getting on top of the Tristana here. Who will pop? And Mr. Narwhal will likely follow here. Yeah, it ended up being a 2v3, and they are just so huge, that Orin and Silas here.
The stolen Renata ultimate, just so disgusting. Wosai, the MVP of game number 1, 100% in my opinion. This guy is just on clicking all the correct buttons exactly when they need to be pressed, and that is going to just continue to lend to his strengths, continue to lend to his team feeling confident, and now they're gonna have this big prize of the Ocean Soul. And wow, it's great stuff by the gatekeepers. Newton South came out of the gate swinging. This Tristana will now have items to start to answer with this front line, but with the Ocean Drake, the Ocean Soul, it's just for what? They can just back off and fully re-heal. It's like everybody has a Warmogs at all time.
Yeah, I like this from the gatekeepers, you know, getting the Ocean Soul and saying, let's just reset. Let's not get too greedy. Make sure we have all the gold spent that we possibly can before we try and make this final push here. Baron actually coming up in 25 seconds as well. They're pinging that out. Might try and pick that up before they make that final push onto the Nexus.
You love to see it. You love to see this level of execution, and I honestly love to see this level of response from Newton South. They have not given up at any moment here in this game. They see what they can do, and they've made some of that happen, but in general, the gatekeepers just so many significant strikes, especially through this mid game, which has a lot of them that space, has a lot of these foreign items to start to come out, which is, like you said, that hidden gold, about 1,000 to 2,000 gold between all those items in gold efficacy. And there is going to be a Baron Nashor number 2 secured.
No!
But, oh my gosh. Yo, that's the win con right there. Make this Kaisao kill her own team.
Yeah, that is one benefit of having a really fed ADC on the other team when you're playing Renata. And unfortunately for her, I will be going to be the one taking the death. Team fight getting started here. Orenhorn going out. They are going to catch the cane, but will not be able to follow up. But everybody so healthy on the side of gatekeepers with that Ocean Soul. Almost like the fight never happened.
Like the great eraser here in the fight, but Kohong getting jumped on, Kohong getting singled out, possibly going to be falling to this cane in the back line. Will do so as he pops out and gets the Q. That is a great response fight here from Newton South, and exactly the one they needed, because they're clearing Barons off the map and getting the shutdown onto Wosai. You have reached too far in our domain.
Wow. That is a crazy fight there. No deaths going down on Newton. And are they even going to catch the Ahri here? Is going to have to Spirit Rush out. Mumu going in. Has the Orin support here. Flashes in. Gets a 3-person ult. But yet again, nobody there to actually follow up on it. Will not finish the job.
And did create the space that was needed, I guess, for Jinrat, who was able to continue to keep that cane off of her. Was able to get the lifesteal as well from her Q ability to start to proc off, and just like that, that Ahri stays alive and is able to get the kill onto Kane there. I'm not sure if that was 3 minutes that quickly passed in favor of the gatekeepers, but I would have to assume so, as a lot of those ultimates were expended there in the mid lane.
Yeah, dealing with a spectator bug on the client there. I'm guessing the game actually just ended there, but for which side?
Yeah, honestly, it could have been for any side, but there was that shutdown there. There was a little bit of, you know, possibly a regroup mentality for the gatekeepers. We'll have to get a word and see possibly how that ended up.
Yeah, seeing if we can get back into game here and check out that last 3 minutes Because honestly, if you're on the side of Newton there,
It was a victory
for the gatekeepers.
for the gatekeepers, 100%. They were able to regroup that mentality, refortify with those ultimates that they still had up, and they were possibly just driving it right down mid lane, saying, what are we doing letting these guys start to pick us off in these fights? We have to go. We have to go now before they start to scale. And they were able to do it, which is great on them, because they're able to now sit one up in these grand finals. And that was starting to become a very scary situation that was crafted up by the Newton team. That was great stuff by the South squad.
Yeah, and I'm really excited to see how these drafts are going to change moving into game 2, that late game scaling, doing so much for the gatekeepers this game. But we'll have to get to that when we come back. We're going to go on a little break here while they get ready for game 2. So stay tuned for the rest of the action. and welcome back to the Play versus High School Championship for the Massachusetts region here. We had a banger of a game one.
Man.
I'm really excited to see both these teams get at it again for game two.
Yeah, it was, like you said, banger. We had a really strong showing from some new picks that are really, current to this preseason patch, like that Silas Jungle. We also got to see some old classics like a Tristana resetting and popping off around fights. We really just got served everything that you love to see from some amazing League of Legends. And it was the gatekeepers who were able to jump up on top of things and walk away with the dub. I would have loved to see how those things ended for them, but no doubt it was in some very triumphant fashion with the type of draft that they drafted. They were just going crazy. The Orange, Silas, Ari, Kaisa, and Amumu from last game were definitely practiced, and they were able to do what they came to do. So I'm interested to see if the Newton squad is going to try to ban any of those options out for them, or if they will continue to ban out like last time, the Mundo, the Blitzcrank, and whoever else they banned in that third spot, which are the Lux, which seems to be more like some really targeted bans.
Yeah, we are going to be seeing Newton on the blue side this game, so they are going to get that first pick. But that means gatekeepers are going to get that last pick and that counter pick, which could be scary for them. We're going to see that Kaisa taken off the field this time. And after seeing that performance last game, I can definitely understand why.
Yeah, there has to be something that they brought to the table that gets denied. And it's going to be the Silas, which was the MVP of game one. 100% was just going in exactly where he needed to be, continuing to just disrupt, disjoint, and keep things hot and on fire and possibly fuego. But as I say that, we're locked in with Viego, who is one of my favorite junglers to watch. He clears so fast. He pops around fights. He has that, shroud that he can put around terrain and really dip it and weave in and out. Really, really cool character. So excited to see him come out here in game two and in the hands of Newton. Before, Devoodle did not do any bad job on that Kane. It's just that at the end of the day, the wallets and the picks were huge to come out from the gatekeepers.
Yeah, and I like this again from the gatekeepers, throwing down that gauntlet with the Ornn again and saying, hey, if you can't keep us from getting to that late game, we are going to run you over. And Nyla being a champion that will definitely complement that. Definitely a crazy hyper carry in that late game. And with Ornn items to back that up, going to be scary for the gatekeepers.
The new 80 carry, Nyla, getting drafted from the side of the gatekeepers. They are trying to get their names on all the newest flavors of the month, and that is going to be an Ornn as well, giving back one more time to iGuy the Chad. Going to get to see now what Ko Hong does with that amazing 80 carry that's locked in, the Ashe, either a support or 80 carry for the side of Newton. And then Talia will be the final pick, most likely a jungler for the hands of Wosai. He does like these caster junglers, it looks like.
Yeah, it could be a flex around. I like that pick from the gatekeepers there. Could go to multiple roles. I'm guessing it'll be in the jungle, like you mentioned, but hard to say for sure. Going to take the Varus out of rotation there. Looks like they're expecting that Ashe to go to the support, unless that's an AP Varus ban for the mid lane.
Yeah, that is the thing about League of Legends here in 2022, almost 2023. All of these champions are just so versatile. You can see them in every role. The flex opportunities that you have now are so intense. So I can only imagine at the highest level of play, we're going to get to see some amazing comps come out in this next season. And we're already getting a preface of that here at the lowest level of our high level competition that we have. This is the future pros of NA. These are the future Cloud9, TSM, Team Liquid, candidates that are going to be trying to get to those proving grounds soon. So it's so exciting to see them already at that level, already drafting those creative comps in response to the action that's going on the Rift.
Yeah, we're rounding out the bans here with Akali, and last ban for the side of the gatekeepers is going to be that Rammus. You can get him out of the way there. Or sorry, for the that is for Newton, sorry. the
Yeah,
Rammus getting taken out.
seems like they think that the Talia will be mid lane and that Wosai still has not chosen his jungler since they will be banning the Udyr and the Rammus. So will be last pick possibly open for Wosai. Nautilus, the lockdown king in the bot lane, going to the hands of for her I will D. We'll see if they're able to do as much amazing lockdown as they were able to do on the Amumu earlier. Nautilus a lot more easy point and click than the Amumu, but you saw the Amumu get 4-man ultimates time and time again. It just didn't have the most amazing follow-up behind it.
Yeah, we get the LeBlanc here for Euphority. Euphority, like, ended up with not the greatest score line on that Syndra, but I thought the play actually looked quite good. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of plays Euphority can make on this LeBlanc with some of those dashes and some more of those, mobility tools.
Yeah, there is a great ability for the team here from Newton to weave in and out of fights, and that is even further aided by the lock-in of the Sivir here. Going to be Food Man, able to hopefully play with his food on this bounty hunter bandit of Sivir pick, and they're going to also be able to maneuver and reposition around these Ornn ultimates and Nautilus engage as well. So they once again have drafted everything that they need to answer. We'll just have to see if Wosai can do the work that he can shown that he can do. And now a lot of that on the Zac pick, which is absolutely devastating. That character is so overloaded. I don't know how we don't see him in pro play because his gank potential is so insane. He stays alive forever. The guy's a menace.
Yeah, this is a comp yet again. We're kind of seeing the same story here when we think about how these team comps want to play. If Gatekeepers is able to get to that late game again, I feel like it is so scary for the side of Newton.
But it's low damage, honestly, from the side of the Gatekeepers. They knocked the Nyla out of the picture, and I mean, you have a Talia that can throw a couple of rocks, but as that fight progresses, she's only getting 1 or 2. Has to reposition really well to get the 3-rock sequence out. Whoever she chooses to target with W is going to be one person, but it's a lot easier in reverse now for the team of Newton to be able to pull off their composition. They just need to get able to deal damage and be able to have a little bit of tankiness that they need to move around fights, and they're going to have a great time through that mid to late game, whereas now Gatekeepers need to really get ahead, and they really need to let that Ornn scale up because the Aatrox will be a lot harder of a character for him to abuse.
If I'm Sivir in this game, there are so many different threats to Spell Shield. I'm thinking about that ability, and there are just so many different things you have to deal with. Even if you're just talking about the Nautilus, even if you manage to Spell Shield that hook, you're eating an auto attack with a snare and then a big knockup from the ultimate.
Right.
Like, there is so much to deal with if you're a Food Man here.
100% expect that Viego and Aatrox, as well as the LeBlanc with the burst, will be doing a lot of the heavy lifting here, and the Food Man on the Sivir pick is a lot more utility based. Doesn't need to really come out with a lot of DPS because the Aatrox is going to be able to do so much. The Viego is going to be able to do so much in regards to that AD. Really would just be a bit of a speed booster and kind of like a bait for everybody to pile their skills onto, so that Aatrox and Viego are allotted the space they need. That LeBlanc is allowed to be that mischievous, questionable, is she about to pop over this wall and 100-0 the Nyla or the Talia? We never know.
Yeah. I also feel like the side of Newton here want more scrappy, kind of disjointed fights where they can kind of make picks with the Ashe ult and pop one person for the Viego, and then maybe move into more of an all-in fight. Whereas the side of Gatekeepers here, if they can get one big organized fight with the Zac ult, the Ornn ult, the Nyla ult, like, people are going to explode.
Yeah, we've seen that they are not having a hard time finding engages. They're not as scared of engaging these team fights and really setting up around dragons and making sure that they can just have these fights to themselves. And it's going to be a lot for the Gatekeepers. They're going to be able to put a lot of pressure onto the Newton South squad, but this time I feel like the off-tank DPS kind of comfort zone that they live in is really warranted with the picks that they were, counterpicked against on the other side.
Yeah, this is scary. I'm excited for this game too, though. It's going to be awesome to see whether Newton can, you know, climb that mountain and take one of these off of the gatekeepers, or whether the gatekeepers are going to be the ones who are going to stand strong and take their 6th championship here, and a consecutive one after being the champions last year. So a lot on the line here for both of these teams.
A lot on the line for both teams, so let's hear some noise in the arena. I know we're live on the mics out there, and I love to see that we have this much support in the building for these amazing esports athletes. We are going to be jumping onto the Rift very shortly here, and it is going to be game point here for the gatekeepers. Will Newton South be able to deny that now with the blue side, with being able to be on that proactive foot with the picks and the fans? Did they get what they needed to crack the code that is the gatekeepers?
Yeah, I love the playmaking ability of the Ashe support as well. So much kind of sustained damage and poke coming through. I'm assuming that's going to be the Imperial Mandate on the Ashe support. We'll have to see how that one actually plays out. But such a cool kind of playmaking champ with just so much utility coming out from that Ashe.
Yeah, that is the champion that can make or break fights from a mile away. Just sending that enchanted arrow down the path, and if it keeps somebody locked and stunned for, I forget how long the duration is, I think it could be up to like 4 seconds when it is a max range. It's just so long for people to just pounce and take down an enemy, and with the Sivir mobility that they have, they can really just take over repositioning on a fight so well, and that's exactly what they're going to need to do. They're going to have to watch out for that Zac, and they're going to have to scurry. They're going to have to listen for that Ornhorn and head out of its path, because if they get knocked up, if they let the Nautilus head in and do what he does and disrupt, Talia just raining down her DPS and Nyla getting the free reign to just do the simple things that she has to pull off, it's going to be a very easy game for the gatekeepers.
All right, we're getting out onto the Rift here. Both teams getting those GLHFs in chat. Love that from both teams. Both teams just wanting to, play a good game. It looks like gatekeepers yet again are gonna go for some level 1 stuff with that hook this time instead of that Amumu bandage toss.
Yeah, this has been a great way for them to get some early advantages, but this time Newton South wise to it. They are going to back off and head out. Vision secured for the time being to keep tabs on this Viego. And it looks like he wants to start blue buff side this time. No, maybe just keep scouting out, and he's going to back now. We'll possibly be headed down to the bottom side of the map. Definitely has a way quicker clear when he starts red buff.
Minions have spawned.
Yeah, Foodman this time will be the one that takes the call. We saw Kohong pick that up last game. Sivir just going to start with that. Focus on farming up in this laning phase here. Like you mentioned, probably going to play more of a utility role, so going to use that to try and scale towards that later game.
Later, we will see if that matters. We will see for sure. A nice clear out of the vision by Devoodoo, going to be able to get some early experience for the team. And just a little bit of denial of opportunity. They're going to know no matter what that he was there. They have an idea of how long he takes to now go to his Krugs and then his Raptors and move up from there. But I love to see the sweeper come out. Love to see early gold going into the hands of the team. And that's the kind of stuff you want to do to start to get into the heads of the champions.
Oh, and for her, I will D, just walking forward, starting that off with an auto. Ooh, but the trade actually going in the favor of Newton. That boomerang blade doing so much damage to the Nyla.
Yeah, double 80 carry down here in the bot lane, and everyone's level 1. It's not like this Ashe is, wanting for anything. She is on the exact same place as this Nyla, and they're able to put substantial damage into her, but she does have that Doran shield and is able to continue to just have that much more regeneration in lane, as opposed to this Sivir who has to hit things for just 3 measly health. Anything taps this Nyla, and she's going to be able to regenerate substantially more.
Yeah, also Nyla with that ghost instead of the heal. Might not be as good in those, bursty trades down in the bottom lane, but when those team fights come, that mobility on that Nyla is going to be so strong. Yeah,
she is that character that I feel like a lot of people just kind of don't regard in the middle of a team fight, and then all of a sudden she's popping everybody because he's quick. Her DPS output is not low at by any means, especially when she starts to get those items in. And it's just, you know, very cool to see the newest addition to the AD carry roster have some success. I know it's a very hard role for the game designers and balancers to try to give the right tools to it. I feel like they did a good job with that.
Yeah, it's cool to have an ADC with a little bit different of an identity than just, I'm going to be a ranged auto attacker. Nyla seems to fit that quite well, where she has kind of her own identity, which is really nice. Mid lane pretty even here. Both of these casters just kind of farming it out. They'll be taking too big of advantages there in the mid lane. But
yeah,
I imagine once that LeBlanc hits level 6, we're going to see some people start to explode.
Yeah, this pace in my mind, you know, even though there are more tanky members on the Gatekeepers, I feel like the type of DPS that's going to be able to be racked up by Newton South is really favoring the slower pace here to the early game. They're going to be able to, you know, continue to pressure, get this Viego to farm up because he's going to outpace this Zac so much in the farm. And that's just going to allow for him to become this big threat, and that's going to be a worth carry for the side of the team. They could honestly have 5 carries in the late game if they're able to atomize this Ashe up. So it's going to become really difficult for the Gatekeepers to have an answer in reply to DPS that comes out, because they do have tankiness to start to withstand things, but are you just dying slower, or are you trying to kill people?
Yeah. One thing that's scary on the side of the Gatekeepers, we saw Wosai on that Sylas being in the right place at the right time consistently in the mid-game last game. So I'm kind of scared for Newton to see how that plays out on the Zac, because the Zac jumping in at the start of little scraps that are happening, if he's in the right place, it will start to snowball for the Gatekeepers.
Yeah, I'm trying to, you know, paint a beautiful picture for Newton South here, but we all know how insane Wosai is as a jungler. His presence cannot be denied. We saw a great example of it game 1, just racking up so many kills. He knows how to get into the fray and make his presence matter, and it's going to be on him now with a little bit less DPS on the Zac than you have on the Sylas, way less DPS on the Zac than you have on the Sylas, to really still be a nail in the coffin that is Newton South here, to try to bring them to that 2-0, try to get them out the arena early, have them holding up that trophy. But Newton South, I think that they really do have a great answer here with this draft.
Both mid laners losing their flashes in that scuffle earlier. Ooh, Shinrat is going to pop that clone on the LeBlanc. It's a little bit scary with that Ignite still up on the Talia, so U4 is going to have to step back. And that first dragon, it does look like it is going to go over to Newton. So good priority there from Devoodle. He's going to take that Chemtech Drake for the first one.
It's such a great Drake to have when you have this much, you know, team that can just want to stack these Drakes. I mean, it did change a bit. I was about to say that you're going to be able to have the Chemtech Drake from before, but no, it's different now. You get heals, shields that are increased. Below 50% health, I believe, is where you get a little bit of a damage boost, but it's not really going to help to the auto attacking and all the damage that can come out. But speaking of auto attacking and damage to come out, look at the deletion for a first blood onto Mr. Narwhal. That will be Kohong with the first kill.
Yeah, exactly where you want that kill to go as well. As soon as all of those players hit 6, everybody pulled the trigger at the same time, executing that Ashe. And Nyla will take home that first blood, moving towards that Ravenous. Such a strong item in the meta right now, and getting that early and allowing that to stack up is going to be scary for Kohong and the Nyla.
Definitely expected this Aatrox to have a better time against the Ornn, and so far we're seeing that come into fruition. So much damage, those critical strikes of the Fuse really adding up there. Nice jump back by Authority to not take the trade there from Jinrat. There is a gank though as well on I Got the Chat. He's not going to be able to absorb this wave. That is so huge. He's only at 39 CS, and now turret platings and wave denial will continue to come out for Newton South squad. This is not the same Ornn from last game. Definitely going to have a difficult time getting to those items. Going to have a tough time staying in lane now against this Aatrox, who's going to be able to pick up quick damage here.
Yeah, and you called it in Champion Select, the Viego and that Aatrox making those plays. Both of these AD champions just so scary to have to deal with. And Deadfish Sushi doing an incredible job of this lane. Up 20 farm, keeping the Ornn down, doing a much better job than last game here.
Yeah, and it's a different Wosa as well. Like, he's not able to just gank the way he was on that Silas. Definitely having to be a lot more calculated about that. We're seeing him stuck in the jungle for a lot of the time here in the opening minutes, whereas before, he was everywhere at once. Nice spell shield on the Nautilus hook by Foodman. And a sidestep by U40 to keep this exchange going, but possibly for the wrong reasons. There is a Viego hovering, but they are very aware of that.
Right, some trades happening here in the bot lane, but that is a scary Nyla to have to deal with.
Huh? In the face?
Just walks up and says, yeah, we'll drop Herald here.
Yeah, what if there's a Zac, you know what I'm saying?
And he was very close.
Yeah, he wasn't that close, you know, he didn't die, but that was, you know, this is your most important part of Grand Finals. You do not want your mid lane experience to just open up like that because of the very aggressive Rift Herald. You could easily just go behind this wall right now that Jinrat is on and still get the same placement with a lot more safety of positioning.
Right. Extremely even game here. Only 300 gold separating these two teams. Gonna see how this game explodes here. Maybe at the next Dragon in a minute 30.
That would be a point of contention for the Gatekeepers for sure. They want to get this Ocean Drake, I mean the Cloud Drake here, because as their team ultimates, they will be able to lock down the team that much more. It's kind of like they get their own Sivir ultimate for free. And whereas, you know, Sivir will just get hers expanded. You do not want the Ass to have increased movement speed. The Viego will go crazy after ulting and getting that increased movement speed. So there's the lockdown underneath the turret for Foodman. Everybody's here. Spell Shield was held on for long enough. And that was why Foodman is still alive as we do jump back into things. The TP as well. Why Deadfish Sushi was so huge, able to do so much damage in cleaning up this fight. Already has slain for her I will D. And there is going to be Zac cleaned up as well. Huge collapse by the Newton South squad.
Yeah, that TP from Deadfish Sushi coming out quickly, and they needed it. That Aatrox cleaning up that fight. He is going to be a monster moving into the rest of this game. It was also unfortunate Mr. Narwhal on the Ashe was actually still level 5 for the start of that fight. So that Ashe era wasn't there to help out, but didn't end up needing it with that teleport coming through from Deadfish Sushi.
My God, the Chad able to pick up so much experience and gold here, though, which he was wanting for. Now just bringing that CS lead down quite a bit, but that is a huge engage by Jinrat onto Jinrat by the squad. Newton South cleaning things up and picking up the pace. You thought it might be the Dragon where they wanted to fight, but no, it's everywhere else but the Dragon, as now the Dragon spawns.
Yeah, and it looks like they're going to have control over that just by winning all of those fights around the map. It looks like some of the members from Gatekeepers are kind of hovering around it, but they don't have the numbers that Newton does, and that Dragon going to go down very quickly.
Drakes to the hands of the Newton South squad. They are firing back here in game 2 and now have exactly what they need to take it home. And with an Infernal Soul on the table, I know that they are salivating thinking about picking that up.
You were already talking about how much damage the side of Newton has. You add Infernal on top of that, and anybody on the side of Newton is going to be able to pop the Gatekeepers.
Great stuff here by the Newton South squad. The Gatekeepers, no doubt, feeling good about the lead that they have on this Nyla, though. The Sivir will be relegated to that supportive style role. We're seeing it start to fall off in CS. We're seeing, you know, the item breakpoints not being met necessarily, and it will really just be a point for her to get fights, and that is an Ornhorn going very wide here. Deadfish Sushi trying to get Woshi out of the fight first, and there is the collapse by the Voodoo as well to start to make this into a 2v2. Woshi in danger, but gonna ult out of there for the time being. Ash ultimate coming down from the south side of the map, and it holds down I Got a Chat for so long. There's no way, but he still survives. He absorbs it, and the rest of the team arrives. U40 trying to get out of here before another life is traded. Gatekeepers getting exactly where they needed to be. I Got the Chad living for so long in that engage.
Yeah, and just actually forging that mythic, I believe, just before that fight was big for I Got the Chad. That fight took so long, and it gave everybody the time to kind of rotate up and help out. I was a little bit scared of them having to, you know, move in against that massive Aatrox, but bought the time that was needed for Jinrat to come up, and a great roam from that Talia.
Raid boss down. GG's, boys. Everybody's feeling good. They all got to take the Aatrox off the map and the Viego as well. Slowed down the pace and the momentum that the Voodoo guy was able to build up on the Viego thus far. But as I say that, he is still trying to keep the pressure going. Talia, sitting duck. And there is a sitting duck that is cooked at the stake. Deadfish Sushi picking that up, putting it on the Giri.
Yeah, I love the little mind games too. The first time just instantly going in with the W on the Viego, and the second time waiting for that knockup from the Talia and then going in. Some great ganks coming out here from the Voodoo.
Voodoo is doodle. Exactly what they noodle. Doing what they need to do because, man, the farm is cleared up, the ganks are there, and you're trying to keep pace with the Zac jungle, who is known for just being this ganker that can just appear out of nowhere nonstop. It's actually the Voodoo on the Viego who is the one that's able to appear out of nonstop. And like I said, Kohong on the Nyla got the lead on the item breakpoint and was just able to press that advantage time and time again. Now we see the Kraken Slayer come in from Sivir, but too late. The tower's gone, and this Nyla is ready to go, and she's gonna be very difficult to deal with here as 20 minutes start to approach.
Yeah, it's something where if she is allowed to get into these team fights, it's going to be scary, but she does have to get a little bit closer to her opponents, and she will have to contest with that Aatrox in the front line. Seeing an item that's new to this season. Oh, we're going in on Deadfish Sushi. There's 3 in the top lane. Ornhorn coming out. Okay, they are going to burn that flash, but
yeah, so ominous to always see that enchanted arrow just flying across the map. They're not able to get the turret down before the Rift Herald charge, so Shelly gonna just get another second one. You're not gonna get to stay in the mid lane for too long. We'll retire there, and with the exposed positioning from them staying too long, escorting that Shelly in, U40 will be a prize for the Gatekeeper. Shut down onto Talia here, and that will finally get her onto her mythic. The Drake is also about to spawn in the next 40 seconds, so important that the Newton South squad repose themselves and get ready for that objective. They need to put themselves onto this sole point. I Got the Chad hammering onto the top lane and still has the TP, whereas Deadfish Sushi TP is also up. They're going to be able to jump into this fight at any point.
Yeah, and Wosai starting to get to that point where he is everywhere he needs to be. That Radiant Virtue coming through on that Zac, causing him to be even more tanky and regen more in these fights than he would have otherwise, which was already a lot. So these team fights starting to get scary. Seeing a trade up here in the top lane, Deadfish Sushi. A lot of damage out on that guy, the Chad.
That going crazy. Or Jinrat there saying, get walled, you're stuck, you can't move. Absolutely insane placement of that Weaver's wall there, and very aggressive engage there in the mid lane. Very preemptive, but Jinrat is going to be the first one to clean up the Viego. The Newton South squad fighting before the dragon, not at the dragon. Kind of crazy, but there's U40 looking for a pick off onto the side. Kohong able to get away from that for the time being, and no one going to die again quite yet. They are still sitting though. Down a member as this dragon spawned, and that member is the key member, the jungler with the smite, not able to lend his strength to this Infernal. And if the Gatekeepers get 1, 2, 3, and then 4 of these, oh no, danger, very scary.
Yeah, suddenly that team goes from being a relatively low damage team to having the whole squad just starting to melt with those Infernal Soul procs.
I don't even want to think about it, man. Make my stomach hurt.
Yeah, Newton is going to have to stop that from happening. Do the best they can to secure that soul for themselves. Nyla almost on 2 items here as well. It's a point where she starts to get quite scary.
Oh, she'll buy it right here on this back. 100% has the gold. 160 farm, and then there is
there it is.
Mortal Shield Bow now. Ready to go. There's nobody that can pop this Nyla. And if those Infernal Drakes start to stack up, it doesn't matter that she has a more defensive mythic item. It's going to just be so empowered by the amount of boost that you get from these Infernal stacks.
All right. Moving into a little bit of a lull here in the mid game while we wait for this next dragon. I'd love to see some plays around this Ashe. You know, with that ult cooldown being as low as it is on the Ashe, you can kind of afford to go for a couple of plays in between dragons and that sort of thing. Try and make some picks here with that LeBlanc and maybe the Sivir ult as well. But we'll have to see how Newton want to play it here up until that next dragon in 3.5 minutes.
Yeah, it's on Newton to press in between this dragon spawn. They need to continue to get this lead back before the dragon spawns. It's very close right now. But if they are the ones that are unable to get this next dragon, oh man, it's going to be such a difficult time for them. And honestly, on Gatekeepers, they're just going to stall it out. They're going to continue to push waves. They might look for some, call-outs on rotations or positioning by the Newton South squad, but in general, they're not worried about anything. They're going to kick it, just wait for this dragon spawn, and force the hand here because they already have the lead and they feel it.
Yeah, it's Gatekeepers knowing what their win conditions are and kind of crafting that play style around those win conditions. The gameplay's been looking very strong from them. Baron is going to be spawning as we hit this 20-minute mark, but I imagine we won't be seeing that from either team for a while here. Alright, Sivir farming up in the mid lane here. Everybody just soaking up the camps, soaking up the creeps, just trying to get as much gold into their pockets before this inevitable dragon fight.
Yeah, we speculated it might just slow down until that point, and it's looking like that is the card that the Gatekeepers will play. Newton South not really feeling comfortable enough to try to find any cracks in these defenses that the Gatekeepers have crafted up. Look how quick the farm comes out on the Nyla. It's so impressive. You think that the Sivir clears fast? No way. That's so much damage to come out with the Ravenous, and so clean as well. Deadfish Sushi getting a little bit of a chunk down on to I Got the Chad, and that's exactly what you want to see before the dragon. You want to see this Ornn scared to TP into the fight, and the Aatrox able to possibly deny his teleport altogether, or just go into the fight that much more healthy.
I love watching the Ornn just crafting items in the middle of the creep wave, just being like, yeah, I'll hold this wave. I'll get an item while I'm at it. Controlling that wave for his team to move up and potentially get a kill on this Aatrox before the dragon. It's actually Gatekeepers who are looking to make a move here.
They've made the move, and they have the jump on it, but who is baiting who now as Brutal comes through? Starts to take a little bit of a chunk off the team, but they explode the Aatrox. Deadfish Sushi not able to get any of that Aatrox lifesteal to come out, and it is going to be now a 3v2 here in the river. That is not favoring the Newton South squad by any means, and even the Reaver's Wall just to deliver the Talia right at the end of things. That is such a clean fight, and they're going to feel very comfortable with going on to this Baron here. That is a dead Viego and the Aatrox, the only two carries that they really are concerned about, making a menace here in the pit, and that is going to be a Baron secured for the Gatekeepers on their road to the 6th state championship in Massachusetts.
Yeah, and it's only getting scarier with now these Ornn items starting to come in. He's finally started to get those levels, which he's been kind of behind in throughout the game, but now ahead, getting those items for his team. With the Baron buff, there's just so much additional stats on the side of the Gatekeepers coming out here, and maybe even some more coming out with this potential next Infernal. It's going to be scary. Newton trying to take position around the pit already. They do have the advantage
we need to be here now. That is going to be, just kind of scarier for them though, because of the fact that the Zach can just jump into them all waiting around the pit that much easier. You know, they have the tools to really engage on a team that's already created their positioning. They thrive. Newton squad thrives in being able to possibly reposition away from that, but you know, it's already looking like the wallets are looking thick from gatekeepers. Not going to be able to deny what's coming at you. Gatekeepers have it. Look how much tankiness is on this Orin as well. He was down significantly, but with how much time Aatrox spent on the other parts of the map, he's able to get so big, and that is blue team actually getting the Infernal Drake denied. So important that they did that. What is going to happen from the fight after that? Aatrox trying to come in and become a menace, but like I said, there is so much strength on the side of Newton South. Sivir able to clean up Talia on the side of things, but as I speak about that, Cole Hong is also able to get a solo kill on the support from Newton South. There is 3 dead on the side of the just one traded by the gatekeepers, and with that Baron buff, with that tempo now that they're able to have with the dead bodies on the Rift, they're going to be able to take so much. Cleaning out the jungle, you see Wosai, you see the mid lane getting pushed for free by Kohong. Nobody able to really do anything about this stuff, and Sivir does not want to be caught in the translation here, caught in the rotation. Going to be Wosai getting spell shielded for the time being as the Nyla continues to farm and become disgusting here.
Yeah, but I like this for Newton. Getting that dragon was just so important. It gives them that potential win condition of just needing to survive until that next dragon and then making the play to take that one. Because I think if they get Infernal Soul, that might be what will allow them to get back into this game and potentially bring this series to a game 3.
I see it going if the Newton South are able to actually secure the Infernal Soul. Gatekeepers are gonna kick it, scale, relax all the way until that Elder Drake, because they're not going to want to deal with a skirmish or something disadvantageous with all those increased stats without knowing that they could get that Elder Drake empowerment behind it. You saw Wosai was actually really close to stealing that Drake too, so really scary for Newton South to try to rush objectives without making sure this jungler is taken away or that his smite is down.
Yeah, during that little interlude, they did manage to kill that Nautilus, so that was kind of what allowed them to set up around that dragon. Didn't actually get to see that kill go down on the Nautilus, but I'm guessing there was some sort of Ash Arrow or some sort of pick involved while that Nautilus was stepping forward for vision. So maybe they try and look for another pick for that that Infernal Soul in another 3 minutes or so here.
Coach Klaus right now looking at the Newton squad like, you guys have this. You know what tools we practice. You know how to play from behind against these gatekeepers who are so solid, but there is a huge engage going on the inner bot lane turret where the gatekeepers are able to get so much in there. Just keep this death ball rolling. The stat lines are so huge, and they're able to pad stats on the KDA now as well. Every single person donning a bounty. Jinrat is going to put the Weaver's wall behind things to continue to allow the team to push up.
They might just go for end here. Yeah, they're pushing forward. They do have so much beef on their team between the Ornn, the Nautilus, and the Zac. Oh, and U40 is going to try and go in and save the day. But they are going to take out all of the members of Newton here. It means a little bit of mountain diving. And that means gatekeepers are going to be your champions. Wow, what a set between these two teams.
Huge set between the teams, and that is the MSAA Fall State Championships now all concluded 2-0 in favor of the SHS Gatekeepers. I got the Chad, Wosai, Jinrat, Kohong, For Her I Will Die. They went absolutely crazy in this series, and that was in a series where they were being contested. I mean, let's be honest. The stuff that was shown by the Newton squad was not to be scoffed at by any means. Every single athlete in the building should feel very proud of their performance, but them gatekeepers, man, there's a reason they're 6-time state champs, and they're going to be holding that trophy high. And they're going to be going into this winter break feeling good in solo queue for sure.
Yeah, they knew what their win conditions were. They played to them, and they did fantastic. So big shout outs to them. And also big shout outs to Newton, you know, playing strong in both of those games, showing those moments of brilliance, but just not being able to get it done. But great play from all of those members of that team. And big shout outs to making it to the finals. That's not something you can scoff at. You make it through a lot of very strong teams to be here. So big shout outs to Newton as well.
Well, if you enjoyed what you saw today, make sure you're followed up with PlayVS. They bring you these high-level competitions. They are producing this amazing event. And also give a follow to Oski Champ and Locust if you like the commentary, if you want to follow up on what we're doing and maybe give us feedback on what you heard today. We'd love to hear from you. But with that, I believe we have concluded this amazing event. Thank you all in the chat for hanging with us. Thank you everybody in the venue as well. I know it was packed in there and loud for these athletes. So thank you all for being a part of this production. We will see you all next time.